I don't know about you, but I was taught to think before I act. So if I smack the shit out of you, rest assured, I thought about it, and I'm confident in my decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy Mega Meeple. Greetings and welcome to the Mega Meeple. This is episode 3 of season 4, and doubling up this week. If you heard my episode earlier this week, I did tell you were going to get a second episode, but it may or may not apply to all my listeners out there, because we are doing another AEW pay-per-view commentary with my pals Jason and Tony. So for all you non-wrestler fans out there, you can go, feel free to skip this one if you're not into wrestling. But I know that there's a good portion of board gamers out there that are also into wrestling because, hey, we're all into entertainment. If wrestling is your flavor of entertainment, if you're in AEW, chances are I would hope that you saw this past weekend's show of Double or Nothing. And so this, like we did for the last pay-per-view, we're doing it for this one too. And if we enjoyed doing it. So far, we've been enjoying doing it. I don't know if you've been enjoying listening to it, but we've been enjoying doing it. So we're going to keep on doing it. So without any further ado, let's get on to our commentary and critiques. We have a few critiques with Jason and Tony. And also, if you want to hear some outtakes and bloopers and shit like that, wait until after the outro. I usually put some, if everything is kind of, we have some bloopers or whatever, I typically put those at the end. I don't know if any of you for the past year have noticed that. You probably sign off after you hear the outro. But you've been missing out because some of the more interesting comments is put at the end. So kind of stick around for that. You might enjoy it. So anyway, let's get on to our commentary of AEW's pay-per-view of Double or Nothing. Promised a second podcast for this week, and for those of you out there that are wrestling fans, you may have listened and enjoyed our little critique, analysis, commentary on, what was that, Revolution, I think it was?
Yep, that was the last one.
So
Revolution, what are you talking about?
What was the last pay-per-view that we talked about?
Was that called Revolution or was it Full Gear?
No, it was Revolution.
Really?
Yeah,
Revolution. It's such a terrible name. I forgot.
That's the one that Moxley won the title.
I just called it AEW 4 or whatever the last AEW pay-per-view. I had no idea it had like an actual name.
Yep.
So we have
Come
Jason.
on, AEW. Come on. Step up your name. Step up your name game. Come on now. Revolution.
I'll agree with you there.
Well,
see, I like All In, Double or Nothing, the poker theme. I can kind of remember that. Revolution, get out of here. Come on. You do better than that. Mind games. Let's go old school. All that stuff. I love those. I love those older ones.
Okay. Well, if you haven't figured it out by now.
Some hasn't even figured
yeah, that's right. You're not running away from my podcast this time.
Wait, but we have Tony and Jason on. We're gonna do this again. This time we're gonna do it for now see you fucked up my memory now. I got a double or nothing. Jesus Christ.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So well it's hard to believe it's been about a year, because the last year's Double or Nothing it was known for the whole brother versus brother, where Dustin left half of his body weight in blood in the ring. And then
that was actually All Out, wasn't it? Was that Double or Nothing or All Out?
no, that was the first Double or Nothing.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then
the first AEW.
And then when Chris Jericho and Omega had their match, Jericho won, and while he was demanding a thank you, that's when good old Jon Moxley comes out and makes his debut. So those are two main things I remember from last year's Double or Nothing. So now we have the second Double or Nothing. Now, but last time we kind of bashed on WWE. I mean,
we could skip that. I got nothing to say.
I haven't even watched.
They've been doing what they can. Although, I mean, at WrestleMania was over 2 nights, and they started doing these cinematographic type matches where it's not live per se, but it's filmed and edited and all that stuff. AEW did similar thing here with one of their main events. So, but leading up to this, how do you guys think that AEW has been handling the whole no crowds type of thing?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Tony.
Okay, sure. I'll go first. I think they've been doing it as well as can be expected. I think the Rogues Gallery, like the group of other wrestlers sitting around the ring outside, cheering and booing, really adds something that a total lack of a crowd would highlight. Like, I've seen only like bits and clips of some of the other companies running shows, and it's crickets.
Right.
Like, there's literally nothing in the place except the announcers and the people in the ring, and it's silent. I think it really adds something, and it's really added a chance to have some character moments for people on the outside. Like, whether it's Chris Jericho on commentary noticing Pineapple Pete, or Big
Baker
Swole at the pay-per-view.
Big Swole was... and Britt Baker with her shoes.
Has won quarantine. Like, she became...
Yes.
Yeah, with the shoes.
Britt Baker with her shoes, and Big Swole talking trash all night last night, and Austin Gunn being as loud as he possibly can be at every event. I think that's really added something. Them changing the angle that they shoot to the Ring of Honor angle, where the camera's facing the entrance ramp, so at least there's something in the background other than empty seats, has been really well done. And with the event that they had right before the major shutdown, where they had one night where they basically had to record all night because they recorded like a month of episodes all in one evening, and they just had everybody who was there wrestle each other like round robin style almost to create enough content. And the whole TNT tournament.
All right, I'm gonna have to cut in here for a second. I have a goddamn mute button on my audio interface, and I pushed the mute button when I felt myself starting to cough, and the mute button was on. It was on. I swear it was on, but evidently my mute button on my audio interface doesn't mute the frickin' signal of my microphone. But oh well. Live and learn. Shit happens. Back to the analysis.
TNT Championship tournament that they went, you know what, we're just going to do this. We have enough people here to do it. We're just going to do it. And they filmed it all in that one night and then parceled it out over the next month and a half. I mean, I think they've done a really good job with, at the very least, keeping things feeling together, not nearly as disjointed as I would expect it to be with like a third of their roster for most of the shows. So yeah, I don't know. I've enjoyed it. I've thought it's still been an entertaining television program, especially with all the little things that they've intercut, like things that they've had people film on their own, like MJF.
The Bubbly Bunch.
The Bubbly Bunch. Yep. Bubbly Bunch. Fantastic.
Was that Lou Ferrigno with the taser?
Yeah. That one was just mind-melding. That was my favorite out of all of them. Like, all of them have some nice little callbacks and references, like Jericho pouring his OJ and missing the glass, just like Ozzy in the old video from the 80s. Like, it's there's all these little like goofy nods and nerdy references in all of them. And then that one, like the Manitoba Melee, I guess, was absolutely ridiculous. But no, I feel they've done a pretty good job. Like, they went a little heavy on video packages a couple of times. And I think the Jake Hager Mox empty arena match was a little bit longer than it needed to be. It seemed like it was definitely like, we're going to fill some time here, boys. 2 video packages and the match itself. It's going to be half of the show.
It was a 3 commercial break match, which it did not have to be that long.
Yeah. But other than that, I'd give them like a solid B rating as far as what they've done since it's been going on. I haven't seen anybody do it better. Most people aren't doing anything at all. So
I'll be honest. When I first heard about the empty arena shows, I was really against it because of everything. It's like, we know why you're doing this. You're doing this because you have a TV contract, no other reason. And you could say, oh, we're going to entertain the fans, give them something. Bullshit. You did this because you have a TV contract. You don't want to give up that money. Okay, fine. So then I had a problem with like them running shows. So I'm like, okay, what happens if someone gets sick? It'd be like the NBA where it's like one wrestler gets sick. They got to shut the whole thing down to be bad press and all that kind of stuff. So I guess they dodged a bullet. Like, no one got sick. And I think like learning after the fact, everything they did to keep people safe. So like the temperature and, taping all in one night to make sure that everything got in. And then when they resumed, like after that section of taping, like they did the Daily's Place tapings, it sounded like they had tests for everybody. And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. So it's like, it's almost like the wrestling was like a petri dish for what other sports should do. And like now, so like, the NBA, NHL, all that stuff is starting up, and they're using the wrestling model and UFC because they had their pay-per-view, which was really, they're using what was learned there to make sure that other sports come back. So it's like, holy shit, like this was actually a really, really good idea. So, but I didn't get that until after the fact. Like, as I'm watching, I'm like, oh, this Orange Cassidy and Jimmy Havoc, that's really the main event. But I the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, this was a good learning experience. No one got hurt, no one got COVID or whatever it is. And then looking back, I thought it was like great, and it was nice to have like the break into something to look forward to. And like I said, Dr. Britt Baker won. She won quarantine. Like, she became such a great character. Opened up her whole repertoire, going back and forth with Tony. She was on the AEW Uninterrupted podcast, and she's adorable.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. She did an interview with Chris Van Vliet recently as well, which was really, really good. But yeah, like everything from using her shoe to trash talking with Sheeta on the side to taking out Brandy.
And the broken nose.
Yeah, the broken nose. Oh my gosh. Like that shirt that they made out of that, like the commentary line that Chris Jericho said where she went from Ace Frehley to Gene Simmons in one shot. Like the fact that they turned that into a shirt with Kiss style lettering that says Brit, and it was the highest selling t-shirt for a female wrestler in the history of pro wrestling tees the week it came out. Wow. So I completely agree with you. Britt Baker won quarantine AEW wise.
It sounds like she got hurt at the taping at the last Dynamite. Sounds like she'll only be out 6 weeks. I bet you she'll be there every week. So, I'm sure she will. She was like the worst one. Like before, when she was doing her face run, I was like, ugh, what do they see in this girl? She's the first one, really. And now I see it because I didn't watch Ring of Honor. I didn't see her in Ring of Honor. So but no, it's amazing. So like they turned shit into shit aid, And it was
Yep.
a little bit after the fact, but no, I think that everything kind of came up roses. And like the WWE, they finally wised up and they put the fans, like the staff for the last Raw, and they put the plexiglass there, so like the hockey rink.
Mhm.
And I thought that and that's really cool. So it's like AEW's doing their thing, and they challenged WWE to be like, okay, let's do something. We got to have fans in here. Let's try to differentiate. So it's almost like they're like you could see the competition kind of making each other kind of stand on their toes. And I think that part is awesome too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think competition is better
there's
for everybody.
the only thing I like how they're doing the whole the heels on one side, babyface on the other side.
Mhm.
And they actually used that to help pan the TV time to introduce some story stuff or some matches and set up some matches, because I mean let's face it, when we get the crowds back, I doubt very highly if Lance Archer is going to be able to come out and cold punch somebody in the front row. And
he was doing that though. He was doing that to young boys in New Japan.
Yeah, that's his whole
thing.
New Japan shtick. Is he would come out, him and Suzuki would come out to the ring and destroy like half the ring crew every time they came out.
Right.
So like, I absolutely love that as part of his gimmick, his just no nonsense, and like we can talk about it later when we actually get to the Lance Cody match. But the way he walked out there was just aces.
Right.
Yeah. My only regret is really that us as a crowd and even the talent was basically robbed of the pop when Brody Lee it was introduced and Matt Hardy was introduced. But I'm sure that once all this shit blows over and the dust settles and we start getting crowds back into the places, the first time these guys come out, I think it's gonna pop even bigger, because it's like we're kind of like saving it. It was like, okay, well, we couldn't do it. We're gonna make up for it this time and just really, go all out.
Yeah, it was less than ideal, but I think you're right. I think once crowds come back in, I don't think it's gonna have hurt their momentum at all, having debuted in an empty arena. I think it helps that they were people that the audience was already familiar with for the most part. So like they didn't debut anybody that's like a complete question mark, other than, and I will say this is another thing that I think AEW deserves big props for, is bringing in local enhancement talent. Right. And giving them a paycheck when nobody's paying wrestlers during this time period. Like, they had a skeleton crew that they were working with, and they brought in all the local guys, and the local guys, some of them got contracts out of it. Some of them performed really well. Like, I think Aaron Angels was freaking amazing in his matches with Phoenix and Kenny, and, some of the other guys did just fantastic jobs coming in and just pulling off some additional stuff. So it was really cool to see that they reached out to the local wrestling community and went, hey guys, if you need a job during this time when nobody's paying wrestlers but us and WWE, come on over and we'll put you on TV. So that was pretty cool.
So let's get into the Double or Nothing pay-per-view itself. They did the buy-in thing where the best friends won. Now, I guess they won their number one spot contenders now for the tag teams. And I thought it was a cool thing that Private Party even did Crime Time's finishing move on Chucky. So that was paid a homage to one of the unfortunate deaths this past week. We had 2 wrestling deaths this past week. So something like this here was something that a bunch of wrestling fans needed to just kind of, have a smile on their face. So we basically started out with the casino ladder match.
Well, actually, just to mention that tag team match, so the right team won. I think the best friends really came through in that empty arena. Like, they were able to put out compelling matches, compelling shows. Orange Cassidy made me a complete believer, which I know we'll get to him. But even the best friends, like, the 2 little buddies or whatever it is, I thought they really deserved it. Like, you could tell they were more like kind of ground based, and like Trent was like, charging spears, clotheslines, that kind of thing. So it wasn't like spectacular. But like Private Party, they're trying to do all the stuff. They're trying to do the silly string, and they're trying to do all this other, and they had messed up half the moves.
Mhm.
So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, guy. Like you could definitely tell they're like the most Cirque du Soleil tag team. They're just like they literally want the other wrestlers to sit around and watch them do stuff. And I think like I want them to succeed. I really like their gimmick and their shtick and their wrestlers. I think they really need to like amp up the actual athletic competition. Now I'm sounding like Jim Cornette over here. They really like. I'm not saying they should just become like the Brainbusters, but they need to kind of amp up the actual combat aspect of what they do, and not just like spend 10 seconds setting up a silly string.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you here. I thought it was a good match. I think that Private Party was a little sloppy in it. I don't know if it was nerves or ring rust, because I don't know how many times they've wrestled. Like, they haven't been on Dynamite since like early March, so I don't know what exactly was going on there. I think they've got a really bright future. They're extremely young. I think they're just gonna get better as time goes on. But I agree with you. Best Friends were workhorses during.
They were
the
MVPs. I'm happy.
Singles matches, tag matches, didn't matter what they were in, they delivered. Like, Trent gave some of the best performances I saw during this whole time period. Singles matches or tag matches. So I think it's cool that they were rewarded with a #1 contendership. I think they fought and deserved it, and it was believable and plausible that they should be the next team, even if their win-loss record doesn't quite reflect it the way that you would expect it to. I mean, but yeah, I really enjoyed the match. I thought it was a really good opener, and they gave it a lot of time. Like, it got full 15 minutes on the buy-in. It wasn't
the pre-shows always get good time. Like, those cruiserweights on the WWE, they would get like 20 minutes. It's like, all right, sure.
Yeah, it was like,
what you want to do. What I will say is, I hope that Best Friends takes the titles. Because, and this is, I know, we were making fun of Tom over here because he's wearing the AW shirt. He's looking at, he's a fanboy. All right, and I promised I'll bring the heat. So I'm just going to say, I really I don't like the titles, just the tag titles, just sitting on the Elite. And it's like they're just mother henning those titles for what? For nothing. Like, this is supposed to, like this. That's what the Fed does. Like, they give the title to like 2 singles wrestlers who are whatever. And they'll just forget about it. And then like 6 months later, it's like, oh shit, we have tag titles. Let's go defend them. No. You guys pretend to have the best tag team division in the world. Give it to a real ass tag team and just let them do their thing.
Yep. Like, making SCU the original pick was, I thought, a really smart one. And then having them drop it to Page and Omega in service of their bigger story is fine, but at this point, like, the tag teams need something to fight over again.
Right.
Like,
let's get that.
I would not at all be unhappy to see Best Friends take him off of Kenny and Hangman and start that storyline moving in a different direction.
They would, and they deserve it. Like, I'm not the best. I'm not the biggest Best Friends guy. I think they're like, I think they're just like kind of a ham and egg tag team. Or at least I did before all this. But like, no, they came in. They deserve it. They have a shtick. They're doing their thing. So like, I really hope this turns into, okay, let's just give them the run. So anyway, sorry.
Yep. So, alrighty. So yeah, so the first, I guess, proper match of the pay-per-view itself was the Casino ladder match. Now, my understanding was, they like 8 or 9 competitors. Ray Phoenix was supposed to be in there.
Yep.
He got hurt
before.
But to me, it was like, okay, well, if they're going to do like a mystery person, I think chances are they're going to give the chip to the mystery person. I don't know. It was like, to me, it was like, well, why even have that person as a mystery? And if you weren't going to have that person win. What do you think?
I could have seen, so the mystery person was Brian Cage of Impact. And I could have seen a scenario because they set it up. So like Taz was trying to interview Darby Allin, trying to like, bump him, make him better. So they sowed the seeds of like, okay, Taz is going to like, do whatever with Darby. So I could have seen a scenario where he brings in Brian Cage, which is perfect. He's the machine, the suplex machine, go for it. Do your thing.
Yep.
I could have seen it where like he just comes in, Undertaker style when Undertaker debuted. Undertaker did not win that Survivor Series match. He just like came in, murdered Cole Beware, and then like left.
Yep.
So like Brian Cage could have come in complete, and he did. He murdered Darby Allin, and then just like that was his job, and then let somebody else win
twice. But yeah,
it could that could have been a thing. So it's like so Brian Cage right now he has two stories. He has the chip, which he's gonna go for at Fyter Fest, and then he also has the Darby Allin thing. So like you have enough wrestlers, guys. You guys split this up a little bit. So I would have been happy to see someone else win it, but whatever. What do you guys think of Brian Cage anyway? Are you have you guys watched him in Impact?
I really like Brian Cage. I was big into him in Lucha Underground back in the day when he was the Machine, ripping the title in half and all that stuff. So when he debuted on Impact, I was into it. Him and Sami Callihan had a really, really good feud back.
Yeah, really physical. They would beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, and I guess Cage signed a while back, but he's been injured with a triceps tear or something like that. So this was him finally making his debut, even though the ink on his contract has been dry for a while. So it was cool to see him in there. He was not who I expected. I will say that. Like, everybody was talking, like, because of all the WWE releases, everybody was like, oh, it's going to be this person or this person or this person. And I was like, no, it's going to be somebody that's already on the roster that we either haven't seen in a while or that we haven't seen yet. And my initial thought was it was going to be Pac.
That's what I thought.
That they were going to have Pac come in, but with the travel restrictions, I thought the promo showing Pac and re-highlighting Death Triangle was going to lead to something at the pay-per-view. It didn't.
But that's okay.
Pac is still stuck in England, but it ended up working out all right. I thought this was the most indie match of indie matches. It's definitely the most indie match on the card.
Right.
I think everybody kind of got their shit in, to use Brian Cage's own little thing. Like, everybody went in there, got their shit in. Darby did crazy dives with skateboards off of ladders. And Colt Cabana was a goofy bastard, and Orange Cassidy didn't know how to win a ladder match.
That goes over the commentary. How do you win this match?
When they told him he was going to have to climb a ladder, and his response was just, like when I tell my son he needs to clean his room. Like, it was just perfect.
That dude is winning me over. I hated the gimmick. I hated the planchas and the pocket, but I get it now. It's really good.
I thought Kip Sabian and the Super Bad faction, him and Jimmy Havoc and Penelope Ford, that all kind of came out of quarantine as well, since they're all living here in the States together. I thought that Jimmy coming in and helping was a really smart move for a heel. SCU looked kind of stupid with being the first two entrants, and they could win the match.
It looked to me like they were just
done rock, paper, scissors, and then let the person who won that climb the ladder and sort it out.
It seemed like to me like they were just warming up for, okay, all right, we've got the door stretchers in the back, so let's warm up for the number 3 person to come out.
It didn't make a lot of sense to me for them to sit around and wait like that, or to even like fight each other, like, because of the premise of the match, and somebody could have won it at any point. Like, it seemed a little nonsensical. Had one of them come out at number 3, like, and then both of them double teamed the other guy and then been in the ring together and then decided to fight, it might have made a little bit more sense. But like, both of them coming out and then just hanging out for 90 seconds or whatever, doing nothing, or like putting the ladders back outside the ring. Like, I don't know. It seemed a little weird to me personally. Marco making an appearance because everybody who's in a faction had all their friends come out. Cage being buried under the pile of crap. He was out there forever. And then Joey Janela doing the Death Valley Driver on top of this pile of crap that Cage is on. Like, I don't know. It was a very indie match.
I hope somebody warned Cage that bump was coming, because he couldn't.
He couldn't see anything.
I think I want to say that because Kazarian was near there when that happened, so he probably gave him the heads up or something. But
yeah, like, and then the ending, like, everybody got their shit in, and then magically Cage stands up out from under the pile of shit and wrecks everybody one last time, including the nastiest ladder spot I think I've seen in a while, with him gorilla pressing Darby and a ladder after
Mhm.
almost dumping Darby off the corner. Like, that was kind of scary. I'm glad Darby caught himself, and I'm glad Cage caught the ladder so that they could actually pull it off. But it very much was like, oh shit, we're not going to hit our spot if we don't do this. So there was a little bit of panic on both of their parts. But when they finally did it, it looked good. So yeah, I mean,
I thought it was a perfectly cromulent ladder match. Like it was good.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best. It wasn't nearly the best ladder match I've seen. They actually had a better ladder match on NXT a couple months ago, with the tag teams, I think. But there's been a couple where it's like there's more story. This one was just like a bunch of goofballs and getting their shit in. So it's like I had no problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not sold on Brian Cage. Like I wish he hadn't won. Like I think he's a specimen.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's like I would put Brody Lee ahead of him as a character, and we'll talk about Brody Lee in a second.
Yeah.
But like I think Brian Cage, he's a specimen, right? He's like a level above Wardlow or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, and he's a good like wrestler. I just I'm not gripped by him yet, so I'll give it a shot.
I will say this was much better than the Casino Battle Royale.
Oh yeah, that was horrible. That's right.
Like the Casino Battle Royale, they were like grasping at straws to fill it. This one, they put 9 guys in. All 9 guys did their thing. They did it well, and yeah, that was it. I don't think we need to say much more about it.
Yeah, I liked that each person got their spot. You know, each one had their chance to climb up the ladder and try to get it. I had to laugh when Cage he did something to Joey Janela, and Joey rolls out of the ring, and then you hear him clear as day, real loud.
Yeah.
Fuck you, motherfucker!
Yeah, Joey got picked up by the camera mics multiple times during that match. I think every other word out of his mouth was the F word, and it's like, well, we're on pay-per-view, folks.
All right. So Brian Cage wins that one, and then we go on to what I think was the wrestling technical wise was the best match on a thing was MJF and Jungle Boy. I think they did a really good. They did like a wrestling clinic, and they had some really interesting spot. You know, MJF, of course, smash talking them and smash talking to the some people in the audience and stuff. I liked where some of the things where they were almost in tandem thinking the same way when they were, the 2 count and they both lift up their right arm, another 2 count, left arm, and then another 2 count, bridge, art, and what was that one thing where they were essentially on their heads and slapping each other?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had their legs locked and they were slapping each other while on their heads. This was a wrestling match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and these guys, they're 24, 23, and like I'm watching this match and I'm going, how many more matches with these guys are we gonna get to see? Because like Jungle Boy is the quintessential white meat babyface.
Right.
MJF is the like heeliest heel that ever healed. And both of them are so young, and as long as they don't get hurt, we're going to see a lot of great matches out of both of these guys down the line. I've watched this match 3 times since the pay-per-view.
Wow.
I don't know if I would say it's my favorite match on the card, but it is a fantastic wrestling match from start to finish. Like, anytime MJF does something dirty later on in the match, Jungle Boy calls back and, like, brushes his shoulders off with the same kind of thing. Even like the crotch grabbing nonsense that MJF likes to do. Like Jungle Boy responded to that. Shoulder tackle knocks me down, I kip up. Shoulder tackle knocks me down, I kip up. Like it was call and response the whole way, and I really loved it. Pretty much from start to finish. I don't have any real bad things to say about this one.
I enjoyed this match from MJF better than the Cody match.
Yes.
Because it was short. And that was another, if I had like a huge criticism of the whole show in general, the matches were too long. I thought most of the match, except for the Stampede, we'll get to that. That was fine. But I think the matches for the most part were too long. And I think these empty arena matches in general have been too long. And I get when they had like 5 wrestlers. So it's like, all right, give us as much as you can. But they have more than 5 wrestlers now. Like they had people in the stands, literally, like that could have wrestled. So okay, that was a nice, short, sweet, get your shit in and like impress us and leave something in the tank for future matches. When you start to get these longer matches, so like the MJF Cody thing, they really tried to be like, this is the everything, the culmination of this, this, that, a third thing. And it's like, okay, that just culmination just means long. So like, give me this, and like when a match gets to be that length, it has to earn it, and I don't think Cody and MJF really earned it because I don't think they should have had a series of matches. It should have just been like the one and done, like build up 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes. So like you shrink back down. I think MJF and Jungle Boy, he's too thin. He's so thin. I'm not the only one that sees it. He's so freaking thin. I just want to floss my teeth with it. It's crazy.
He's. I know that he is definitely hitting weights. Like he's bigger now than he was. I think that critique is valid, and I think other wrestlers who are more senior in the company have also made it to him, and that it's what he's working on. But I'm so excited about the future with these two because I see both of them being great. It was like a 17-minute match, which may be a little bit long, but like I wasn't bored during it at all. No, obviously, I've watched it 3 times now, so like 45 minutes of my life has been devoted to this one match. So I obviously think it's pretty good.
That one spot where Jungle Boy, I don't know what movie did, but on the ring apron, and that spot with the MGF's head and shoulder and necks hitting.
Oh my gosh!
It was like wow. It's like it's stuff like that I watch as like, okay, yeah, I know there's like safe ways to land and blah blah blah, and you take care of each other, but how the hell do they do this stuff and not get seriously injured? Because that stuff looks like it seriously hurts, not more so than just we're gonna spar and put this show on,
Well, I thought that way with Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. Those guys, those guys were like throwing each other off of buildings. Those are the two where it's like, oh my god, something terrible is gonna happen, and it never does. So it's like whatever.
You guys are gonna die. No, that was my one question. One of my questions prior to the pay-per-view was, how is Sammy gonna die? And we can talk about that later on. But like, it's just a guarantee at this point that Sammy is gonna die sometime.
It's like they need to come up with like a shirt with the South Park stuff. It's like, you killed Sammy.
It's exactly like that.
I'm sure it's in the works. I'm sure.
We'll get to Sammy is definitely the the MVP of the show, because he puts up with so much.
Amazing. Great.
But anyway, so MJF of course takes the win on that, and then we go to the Cody versus Lance Archer. Now let's talk about the belt. Now they did say the belt is not yet finished. They're going to do some gold plating and stuff like that. Something about with the Corona stuff. I guess the manufacturer, factory, or whatever was not able to finish the belt. But
apparently we're going to see it on Dynamite.
Oh, okay.
I have no problem with it. Whatever. It's not done. I get it. So I'm not. I won't shit on it. At least it's not like the period belt that for the Universal Championship.
Yeah, like the red strap that this one has is a callback to the old NWA TV title that Arn and Tully and everybody else wore. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Like, it's one of those things where, like, if you're a wrestling history nerd like Cody is, you're going to get all jazzed up because it looks like the old NWA belt. The plantation houses on the side are Ted Turner's old mansion where all of the TNT and everything stuff started. Like, the belt's got a lot of history built into it, but if you don't know any of that, it's a belt.
Right.
With a great big TNT logo on it. I mean, that's what it is. I saw a lot of hate for it online, and it doesn't scream crime against humanity to me, like some other titles have in the past. I don't know.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's a boring boring design, safe, boring design with some interesting history to it. And it wasn't done, so maybe my mind will change when I see it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait until I see the final thing. But yeah, that you bring out a good point. One of the things I like about AEW is there are so many little, I don't know if you call them throwbacks, callbacks, Easter eggs, something. You know, it's so they don't they know that their fan base is not stupid. They know their fan base is well versed in wrestling history and some of the classics. So you know, so these matches and stuff, and even the things that they do with the the belt is these little callbacks to things. There's like, I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying to my wife just after the pay-per-view, it's funny you should bring this up. I was saying the thing that I get about AEW shows that really like kind of gets me is that I feel like I'm rewarded for the attention that I give them. Mm-hmm. Like if you watch BTE, if you watch Dark, if you like check out their other content like their podcasts and stuff, all of that is littered with things that then is later on used in the actual show. Now, some people don't like that. They want everything to be in Dynamite itself and not have to look at all the extra content. I don't know how it holds up without the extra content because I am one of those nerds who watches everything. But I can say that I feel really rewarded for my investment in watching that stuff. Like watching Dark and seeing all of the matches that led up to this and all the little story beats and everything, and watching BTE and getting all the goofy ass references that show up later on in the other matches. Even like Matt Hardy's ridiculous YouTube show is full of references and stuff that show up all over the place. You know, if you paid attention to people's careers in prior companies, like they reference that stuff. Like Kenny's occasionally gets digs in there, you know, referencing Kota Ibushi, like him refusing to go down to the Kamigoye and the Golden Trigger in the tag match at the last pay-per-view. Like all those references reward me as a wrestling fan for paying attention. Whereas a lot of the time watching other companies, I feel like the time I invest isn't rewarded.
You put that in. You put that in plural, but we all know the one that we're.
Well, yes. Well, like, so Ring of Honor is fine wrestling, but there's not really a lot of story in Ring of Honor. It's match after match after match after match after match, and you can really like the matches, but I don't have to invest any emotions whatsoever into a Ring of Honor program to watch it. Like I can just watch good wrestling. That's what Ring of Honor does. You know, TNA is better with this, bringing up references and staying consistent with characters. They don't just randomly like throw shit in because some old man in a tower somewhere got some wild ass idea in his head. Yeah, so I feel rewarded watching this stuff because the references show up, and like the way that they utilize legends is similar. Like, so the next match is the Cody Lance match, and the way Lance comes out is with one of those enhancement talents, and he's just like ragdolling him down to the ring and like heaves him like chokeslam style over the ropes, and Jake is in the background dancing a jig, and Mike Tyson is standing on the ramp looking at it like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen. Like, what am I watching? And this is a man who's there live. Like Lance is physically like murdering someone, and Jake is there like celebrating like this is the greatest thing on earth. And you know, if Jake's happy, then it's probably something really heinous going down. And I love that, like about his character, and like, you know, Jake, and you know how evil that man can be, and it really has done a lot to enhance Archer, who I like as somebody who follows New Japan and saw his run in the G1 last year. Like, I don't know that he needs it, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
I think they wanted Jake the Snake on there. I think that was a natural fit because if you really look at that AW roster, they don't have a ton of singles guys. Like they have a shitload of tag teams. It's like so many tag teams, but like real legit singles guys, they don't have a ton of. So it's like we want Jake, and so like this is what so let's make it work, and it's fine. Like I'm not gonna say it's like good or bad. Like I like Jake. Like I want Jake in my life. So welcome.
Yeah, he's still he's still I think he's like the king of the promos. He was back then, and he's still able to do it now.
The sit down that they had him and Arn do on the Dynamite before this,
Poopy.
Like,
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
No, it was poop. It was poop. They had no script. They had nothing going on. They were just kind of like going back and forth. They don't have like a shared history. Like they're like two
don't.
80s wrestlers. So
Yeah,
I think that
Yeah, they don't have a shared history. It was still interesting to me to see how articulate both of them are on the mic. Like
I think we're grading on a curve. I think we're comparing it to Kalisto and
Lucha things. No,
and like the jabronis that are reading scripted promos, or I think because I think we're grading on a curve. I think if you just look at what Jake is saying and what Arn is saying, it's like you could tell Jake was just kind of like doing his own thing, and Arn was like, "Hey, wait a minute, I got to work in this Tyson plug, and I got to work in something else."
Yeah.
So they just kind of like went like that with the promo, and it was like I enjoy them like just talking, but I didn't think that segment really worked.
I would love to like. What it made me want to do is watch both of them sit around telling war stories with like whiskey in hand and just like hang out and watch that all day long. Like just seeing their perspective on things, because I think it would be fascinating. But but leading into the match, I thought it was interesting to not have Cody and Lance on that final go home show like anywhere near each other. They Cody got his hands on Lance the week before with the most staged I'm gonna run my truck into a barrier thing.
I'm gonna drive my truck 6 feet and
like totally unnecessary, and then I'm gonna come out with my hands already taped in my suit, and we're gonna fight a whole bunch because somebody put a snake on my wife. I thought the build was weird. I thought the tournament itself was okay. I think it was really predictable. You could tell that they did it in the last minute and filmed it in one night and went, okay, this is our back of the napkin plans for this tournament. What beats can we hit? Well, we're going to make Shawn Spears look like an idiot. We're going to make sure that Darby and Sammy murder each other. We're going to have a callback to Cody Darby again, because that's our favorite feud right now. Lance is obviously going to kill everybody he comes in contact with.
Right.
It was a very predictable pathway to get to this match. I thought the match was okay. I didn't think it was bad. Like you said, I thought it went a little long. It's 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Too long.
Archer went on the ropes twice.
Right.
Which is not a spot that I necessarily need to see more than once a match. And it felt like there was some stuff that they could have definitely cut for time. I don't know. I saw a lot of people really criticizing, all these big monsters come in and they just get destroyed. And this is such a babyface heavy.
Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. This is such a babyface heavy event. I personally would have rather had Lance win it.
Right.
And then have Cody chasing it, because it's the one belt he can chase. I think we could have gotten more out of this. I don't know where they're going to go next. I can't see them going back to the well with Archer and Cody too. Wednesday night. Why? I think it did, all of the stuff leading up to this did establish Archer as dangerous and nasty, but it didn't feel like there was a payoff. If Tyson had punched him, he'd gotten in Tyson's face and Tyson had punched him and knocked him out and Cody had won because of that, then I could still believe, he's this monster and in a straight up fight he would murder Cody. But Cody won clean. Cody won clean with 2 crossroads. After they threw out all of the things that could mitigate it being clean, they throw out Arn, they throw out Jake, Tyson does nothing but keep Jake from interfering, and then
he yawns. That's what he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he yawned. He did yawn. And they cut away so fast.
Oops.
But, like, they
They
kept
better.
cutting to him in the middle of that match, and I'm like, well, I can understand why, because you guys are just repeating the same stuff that you did 5 minutes ago. Do
Right.
something different. Like, it doesn't have, I don't know. Cody has a tendency to make his matches way too goddamn long. You're absolutely right. Like, Cody's matches are just longer than they need to be. I tend to enjoy them, and if there's a lot of emotion on it, like the Dustin Cody one, then okay, fine, I can feel it. But like the MJF one is another good example. Like, okay, so I really hate MJF, and I want to see him get his ass kicked, and then he barely by the skin of his teeth. Like
They were talking about what was it? I think it was the first Double or Nothing where he comes out, or was it at All In, where he smashes the throne, right?
yes,
So basically, he's announcing to the world like, I'm Triple H, and or like whatever. I'm this the Federation Triple H.
Mhm.
And one of my favorite / least favorite Triple H stats is for I think it was 10 years running between WrestleManias like 26 through 30 or whatever however the numbering works. 9 of those times Triple H had the longest match in the card.
yeah.
He just because it's Triple H and it's like, oh, I have to get my shit in and I have to like I'm the biggest star. It's like, you're not the fucking biggest star. You do not get longer matches than Brock Lesnar. You do not get longer matches than whoever else was popular at the time. And the one time he didn't, it was fucking Shane McMahon in that Hell in a Cell.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, so Cody is basically doing the same thing, but that's not what we want. Like, we don't want that. We want, like, be the babyface fire person, be the person that can't get over the hump. Because that's what Dusty was. Dusty was like, he chased the NWA championship forever. And like, and they build it up. So it's like, I just think they rushed it. And I think they hotshotted it. And I think like it's, yeah. And okay, so, go ahead.
I think there was a desire to make this a babyface heavy show because of the current situation. They didn't want people feeling down and being in on a down note, and like they wanted the baby faces to win so that people could go home happy. But like, this was one that could have gone the other way, and it could have been a way to build both of them in an interesting way. Like,
right.
Yes, Cody can't win the big one anymore. That's already happened, but you're going to let him win this one on his first try?
Well, it's only been a year. Like, I mean, so like that's not a long time in the scope of things. They're taking their time with the story. So it's like they are telling long form stories, but I still feel like the Cody Darby thing is good. Cause like that is on the back burner. You come back to it every once in a while. And then like in a year and a half, you could pay it off.
Yeah.
So like laying that kind of groundwork. Cody seems to resolve his shit in like 3 months.
Yeah. It's pay-per-view to pay-per-view. And
I don't need that in my life.
And
so
they
like,
do this. Yeah, I agree. Like the MJF thing should have been a slower burn. Although when you start with lashes in the middle of the ring live on television, and a cage match, like where do you go from there? Like how do you elevate that feud and keep going with it? I don't know the right answer, but it does feel like he's like, I don't know who he goes after next. Like who steps up to him for the TNT title? Who's a credible threat?
It'll be MJF again.
I think it probably has to be.
Let MJF just like take that title and let that be like the self-doubting Cody. So anyway, whatever. Yeah. I don't want a fantasy book. Tom is like, he's like, how long is this gonna take?
Yeah. Well,
I want to pick up on that point you made about the monsters
really quick.
Yeah, I want to make about the monsters. So who do you have? You have all these monsters now. You have Wardlow, Brody Lee, Lance. And I'll even throw like swaggers because they're booking him like the swagger. They crash in the head. They all lose.
Yeah.
They all no stop no.
Yeah.
No. You don't want Andre the Giant to be your champion who was like never champion or whatever it is. I get that part, but it's like we're not in that era. Like these guys can move and they can bump and they can jump and they can really wrestle and like they're real threats. They don't need to be beaten by the elite.
Yeah, they let Hager beat Jobbers and Dustin, because Dustin apparently it's okay to beat Dustin unless your name is Sean Spears. Right. And then like Lance went through a whole bunch of people, one of which was more of a showcase match with Marco. Like anybody who thought Marco Stunt was going to do anything to Lance Archer hasn't watched either of those men's careers. So it was just like,
Right.
let's just make Lance look terrifying. Put him in there with Marco. Like, other than Cody, and I guess you could say, like, who did he face? Colt Cabana? His Colt Cabana match in the tournament was all right.
It was okay.
His Dustin match was all right. But, like, neither of them are Cody level. Like, so the first time he encounters one of the main event people, he just loses clean, and that's it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think Hager's a goon, and I'm fine with him being the somewhat inefficient bodyguard for Chris Jericho. But, like, you know, Wardlow's had like 4 matches, and the only one he had with a credible challenger was Cody, and he lost.
Yeah.
So, like, it's starting to form.
They got to turn this around. I'm hoping that they hear some of this feedback and they turn it around. But anyway, we're running long on time. Go ahead, Tom. Go for it. Sorry.
So Cody wins that one, and it was a match. I think with the whole Cody winning, I think I can see where they could really because I thought Lance was going to win for how dominant he's been.
Should've.
But and that would have been good to as far as like, you know, getting some more mileage out of their thing later on, because, you know, of course they've got to do rematches and stuff like that, and their rematch clause or whatever, however they do that. So I can't understand where it's like, okay, well, if we're going to start a legacy with this belt, that they want to put it on the guy who pretty much got this thing off the ground with TNT and the whole TV, because it was a belt in recognition for their TV deal with TNT. So,
well, he didn't have to beat Archer for it. Then don't put Archer in the tournament. Let him annihilate, burninate some jobbers, and just like tear apart the bottom of the division, and let Cody beat Shawn Spears.
Yeah, like let Shawn Spears look more credible. I don't know. Like, they could have put on the tournament so that Cody's still in the end, and maybe do Cody Dustin too, and so we get that drama because they don't want to fight each other, but they're gonna over this title that means a lot, and build drama that way. And then Archer comes in and slaughters Cody after the match as the first challenger for it. I mean, there are many different ways they could have booked it, but like, it wasn't bad, and I still like both guys. Like, I just think I don't think it was as smart of booking, especially given what they did later on down the card too.
Right.
So,
you're ready. Well, this is my podcast, and you're both wrong. So.
That's probably true.
Fair.
I'll acknowledge that.
Alrighty. I like to. I got to mention this real quick with the doctor, where they went to the doctor trying to get a update on Britt Baker, and he's like, the patient is worse than the injury. She's high maintenance, but she's gonna, evidently she's gonna be in the role model. She's gonna announce to I guess people. I think Dynamite this week how long she's gonna bout.
Yeah,
and then the next match was another okay match, I thought. Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. Now, Penelope got involved in the casino match earlier in the night and took a bump. So I don't know if she legitimately hurt her back or she was still selling it this one. But to me, she seemed kind of sluggish. And Chris Statlander was, she's Chris Statlander. I think she's getting better.
I mean, there's not much to say about this match.
Not much to say.
I don't know. Like, it's not a pay-per-view match. It's certainly not the match we wanted. Everybody wanted Britt and Chris. I think that match would have delivered, especially the way that they built it with her putting the lockjaw on Chris in that 4-way match that Sheeta won earlier in the month, and everything. And like, Penelope selling the injuries was good. Like, her acting was good, but like, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to shit on talent because they're not ready yet, but it really seemed like this was something that should have been on Dynamite instead. But they promised us a Chris Statlander match, and they made the best of a bad situation. And Penelope did fine, but it wasn't long. It wasn't anything like that you would see outside of what's normally on Dynamite every week. So, yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to be a dick, but yeah, it was just a regular Dynamite match on pay-per-view.
Yeah. And then it goes on to Shawn Spears and Dustin. This to me, this
wasn't even to call this a match is charity.
This was the go to the concession stand, go take a piss.
I already took a piss.
Yeah.
During Statlander, my bladder was empty. I didn't have any piss. I watched this
one. I'm sorry.
This was like a throw. The only thing that I kind of laughed at and chuckled at was when Shawn Spears did the whole Joker reference.
Yes, washing his tights. I thought
that's
was
about it, and it went down from there.
It definitely went downhill from there. Like, again, this is another thing that could have just been on a Dynamite. Maybe not with the amount of nudity that was in it. It couldn't have been on Dynamite, but
like Tully Blanchard face on the.
No, so the thing that bothered me most about this is that they didn't make it clear that it was something printed on his underwear, because it was obviously not printed on his underwear. It was an after-the-fact add-on. So the entire time, Dustin's yanking on his drawers, and I'm convinced that we're seeing little Tully, as it were, until they finally get him outside the ring and then go, oh. And why does that make any sense at all? Like, this was the comedy spot of the evening, and it wasn't funny, and it wasn't, like, I don't know. Like, Dustin gets destroyed by Lance, and this is the first time we're seeing him back, and he's A-okay. Like, I thought it would have been more interesting had he come out limping, and then, like, Shawn Spears takes advantage of it. Like, Dustin comes out because he can't not answer the challenge, but he's not really ready for it, and then Shawn gets a win. He never gets a win. Like, Shawn doesn't beat anybody who isn't enhancement talent. That's just the way it is now.
I think that Shawn Spears got really lucky. He was the last guy that got out of the WWE before they stopped granting releases. The last guy. It was like the door was closing, and he did the tumble roll out the door, and then
slid underneath it. Yep.
And AEW was gathering talent, so like, oh, this guy has talent. So it's like, okay, we'll sign him. He's a veteran, whatever. I think that it was all circumstantial that he's on this roster. I don't think he adds a fucking thing. I think that you could replace him with Heath Slater. You could replace him with, pick your jabroni, and just I'm done. I see Shawn Spears, and it's like, all right, I gave you one last chance, Shawn. You're fired. You're fired in my heart. I don't care. He could have the match before the piss break. After, I will make a point of taking a piss during the Shawn Spears match. I don't care who he's wrestling.
To me, the real highlights with him have been like him betting on matches with MJF during the.
Anybody could have done that. Anybody. Austin Gunn could have done that.
You're not wrong. I just that's it. Like, that's the highlight for me. I guess, as they've said before and joked about, he's a good hand. Apparently, he does a lot of stuff in the back, working with people and training people. He does have a wrestling school, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Hire Lance Storm.
Seriously. Now that he's furloughed from the WWE or whatever.
Exactly.
But
there's so many people that could fill that role.
But yeah,
I'm good on.
I don't know why this was there. Like, I thought they were going to go somewhere interesting with this, and they did not. This was not like. It would have been better had penis druids come out and carried him away. That's all I gotta say. Like, that would have been a better, less confusing spot. So we can move on.
Yeah, I think Shawn Spears is AEW's version of someone that
Barry Horowitz.
Yeah, because when he initially
the Brooklyn Brawler.
About a year or so ago? I mean, that's why he calls himself the chairman. The whole spot with the chair and busting Cody's head open with it.
Well,
and I mean, they could have done something with that. And
it's
now
another one of those. Cody wins the match, and then what?
Right.
The only person who's had a match with Cody who's managed to stay relevant and at the top so far is MJF, and that's because he's MJF. Like, the amount of trash talking that he does and the performances that he puts in have kept him there. Nobody else he's had major matches with have done that. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't want to say that Cody's killing the business in a different way than the Bucks, but like,
fucking mute button. Ah!
Cody always wins has to change at some point for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it will. Hell, Cena did it long enough, and he got to the point where he was losing. But next we got Nyla Rose.
Hikaru
Shida. Yeah.
Hikaru Shida, yeah.
For the women's. Found your kendo stick, bitch.
Yes. No, Nyla Rose is like queen of the one-liners. Between that and the Wesley Snipes always bet on black during this match.
Yeah.
Like, whenever she turns to the camera and blurts out something, it's good. It's always good. Like, her standard promos are only okay, but her one-liners are just epic. Like, just the delivery is great. I can safely say that the piss break was over when this match started.
Right.
I really liked this match. I think the no count out, no DQ stipulation really helped it. It helped sell it. I would not at all be surprised to see these two feuding down the road in a more traditional match.
Mm-hmm.
It was set up really well in that unfortunate four-way match where Dr. Britt Baker got hurt. Like, the superplex through the table was a really nice taste of what was to come. Shida showed up in Final Fantasy Tifa gear. Nyla Rose showed up in new gear as well. Like, these two showed up for a championship match, and I think it delivered. Like, they kind of went all over the place, and it seemed like anytime Shida was able to use the environment to create an opening, she could capitalize on it. But it was, I don't think this, like, Nyla did not look weak in this match at all, even though she lost. I was surprised they took the belt off her this quick. I think that's just the time of COVID. Again, I think it was another one of those, she's been locked down and hasn't been able to travel as much. Shida's been the number one contender for freaking centuries now.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think she was the number one contender walking into Revolution and has been number one contender ever since. So I get why they pulled the trigger on it. I thought the match was great. I think Shida deserves it. I think this was the best Nyla Rose match other than the matches she's had with Riho.
Mm-hmm.
And Nyla Rose shines in these kinds of matches. The tables match that she had with Shanna on Dark was also really, really good. The one that was set up with her suspension, putting Shanna and Rick Knox through a table.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she can really work that style. And I think both of them did great in this one. I don't really have any complaints about it. One way or another. It was just, yep, this is what I want out of a women's title match. Let's go.
So this is the Mega Meeple podcast. So I am free to be a giant male chauvinist pig. I think Hikaru Shida is hot. I think she's so cute. And she can wrestle. And
Okay, even though Jason said it, I'm going to agree with him. Yeah, Shida is hot. So there you go.
she's fly looking. And it's like everything I want. All right.
And she
we're
can
good.
sing, and she can dance, and she can play piano, and she can
full
act.
package.
Yeah.
It's
And she can speak
utterly-
English. She's the
Yeah.
full package. I just think she's adorable, and I'm happy for her.
I couldn't understand why they were putting captioning up because her English was perfectly understandable. It's like, why are you captioning this? Like, it's not like Riho who was speaking full on Japanese. Like, Shida is speaking English. I can
Right.
hear like I don't know. It gave me really weird like Kai and Tide vibes where they would overdub the promo. Like, why are you doing this? She's saying like but other than that, yeah, it was great. It was great. I
have no
love
analysis here as well.
champion.
Yeah,
Oh.
good match. It should have been the only women's match in the card. fine.
Yeah.
You know, let her have a nice run. Let her feud with Britt Baker when it comes back, and that ended up all good. You know, let her have a nice little run with it, and away we go. It's good.
Her and Britt are going to be amazing. They already have a built-in feud. They've already got heat. She's the one who busted Britt's nose. I mean, this is the Darby Cody of the women's division right now. Is these two are going to keep coming back and having matches whether there's a championship or not, and I'm going to want to watch all of them. So, yeah.
Agreed. All right, then we go on to the first of the two main events of the evening. John Moxley versus Mr. Brody Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me ask you guys this: How do you think Brody Lee has been doing as far as the whole Exalted One persona? You think he's
last time we did this, right? I was very critical about the whole Dark Order.
Yes,
I think the whole Dark Order. I think it's been dumbly executed. You know, the whole fake punches, and I'm not really sure what's going on. So I think they handed Brody Lee a giant turd of shit, and it's like, bake this turd of shit into a meatloaf. And I think that Brody Lee can only do so much. I think that has completely not helped him. I think anything that is good that coming out of the Brody Lee thing is all Brody Lee, no Dark Order. I don't like Mr. Brody Lee at all. It's like, this is not a play on Mr. McMahon. It's a fucking play on Mr. McMahon. Please. And it's not working. It's not funny. The Dark Order thing is not. So I feel bad. I think they kind of dropped the ball, to be honest with you.
So this was one of our major points of contention the last time we talked. I'm more of a fan of the Dark Order. I think it would have helped had the primary members of the Dark Order been able to actually be here from Canada. Like,
and they're interacting, like they're on Twitter. It's like, it's Wednesday. You know what it means, and they're going back and forth. You never know.
They're hilarious on Twitter, but like Evil Uno and Stu can't be here because of the travel bans from Canada. Right. So, like, his primary hench goons aren't here. So I'm, like you said, I do think he was handed a big turd, and the big turd was he debuted in an empty arena in his hometown instead of his hometown. He was handed this gimmick without being able to get the entire gimmick. Like, they had to give him a new named henchman in order for him to have a henchman for Moxley to rep. Because I guarantee that the person who was supposed to get his arm broken in the ring was probably Stu Grayson.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like, I think they just kept going with the same story beats and went, well, we'll just put some other guy in a mask out there and no one will notice. I feel like Brody Lee's promos are good. I feel like some of the vignettes have been good. But it's inconsistent as hell.
This is a podcast. People don't see me just put my finger to my temple and just.
There are some
garbage
that have been terrible, and there are some that have been okay. And I don't think they can tell the difference, and that's what worries me the most.
Right.
Is that I don't think they have a gauge to go, oh, this one worked, this one didn't. They're just kind of continuing to go. It'll be interesting to see what happens now that, like, this match happened. The match itself I thought was great.
Mm-hmm.
I knew they were going to deliver,
Both men delivered in that ring. It felt like a title fight. It felt like a New Japan title fight.
Right.
And, like, there were a lot of people saying, well, they're all over the arena, and it's not a no DQ match. And there were people complaining, where are the rules? And I was like, guys, like, it's a world championship match. Do you really want them disqualifying people?
Right.
Is that really the result you want? No, I want to see them beat the ever-loving hell out of each other. And if you have to put a no DQ stipulation on there to satisfy your need for credibility, then fine. But, like, anybody who looks at this match in a vacuum, completely separate from the storyline around it, anybody who looks at this match and says that it was a bad match probably shouldn't be watching wrestling. They beat the hell out of each other. They took some hellacious bumps. They took some, like, crazy risks. I thought in the spot with the steps and the ring bell table, I thought Brody was going to be decapitated by the barricade.
It looked like he hit his head he didn't quite hit his head the right way.
And the final spot, which like kudos to them for putting in a spot like that, where the entire evening everybody's just kind of danced around it, and then they just go ahead and do it because there's no matches in this arena afterwards that we have to worry about. Like, that was hellacious, and I thought Mox was going to decapitate himself because he went too far on his paradigm shift jump. I was legitimately worried that he was going to come up with the back of his head missing. No, it was hard hitting. It was nasty. They beat the hell out of each other. They looked like they didn't like each other. The actual finish of the match, like Mox had to literally strangle the life out of Mr. Brody Lee in order to get a win. When he honestly, after that first paradigm shift, I about lost it.
Like, this could have been the first match of an ongoing story if the story was better. Like, you had your good gritty match, and then it's like, oh, we have unfinished business. You got to, use a choke in order to beat me. You had to throw me. Like, okay, now the next thing. Now we're going to go in a cage, and now we're going to go into the, really fall counts anywhere. Like, this could arc up, but I don't think the story merits that arc up. I think that they need to go. Brody Lee needs to just go back to the drawing board and retool.
Yeah, they could have had this match and then had 10 or whatever creeper they want steal the belt at this point.
Right.
And go from there to the next pay-per-view with Mox having to go through the Dark Order in gangs and groups and like them ambushing him everywhere. They really could have gone somewhere with it, and they didn't. And
I think Brody Lee needs to not be in the Dark Order. Just enough.
I would not at all be surprised to see that's what happens next. We don't know when Uno and Grayson are ever gonna I don't know when the travel bans are gonna be over. We don't know when they're gonna be back on TV. And I don't know where he goes from here. Much like with Lance Archer. Like, what do you do when you're the big badass monster and then in your first major match you choke? And I say that, his performance was fantastic, but the result is him losing.
Right.
He doesn't look as scary now. Sure.
None of them do. None of the monsters.
You can wreck Marco Stunt, and you can wreck, somebody talked at one point that WWE has a babyface problem. That they can't get anybody over unless they're a heel.
Right.
And AEW has the opposite problem. They can only get baby faces over. So if you could have AEW book the baby faces and WWE book the heels and have those guys fight each other, maybe we'd have something. But yeah, it felt like a lot of the steam came out of it. I thought the match was great. I love Brody Lee. I've loved him since before he was Luke Harper, while he was Luke Harper, now that he's not Luke Harper. His style in the ring is exactly like my favorite kind of wrestler. Right. Just smash mouth, hit you hard. It doesn't have to look pretty to be effective. I love it. And I thought him and Mox put on a great match. I wish there'd been more or a better story around it, or that it was continuing. I just don't see how it can. Mox is going to move on to Cage at Fyter Fest, and that's going to be it. This is over now. We hit another pay-per-view. Time to drop this storyline and start the new ones, guys.
Let's get to the good stuff right here. Let's get to this is the fun stuff.
Hold on. I did.
We got more.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I did like is because I think I saw something. I think it was somebody on Twitter said it was like, okay, well, this pay-per-view's almost over and there hasn't been any blood yet. So when they did the paradigm shift through the landing there, first of all, I thought it was just funny that you see these two pair of feet sticking up,
and all the people putting on gloves.
Yeah, so it's like, all right. When I saw people putting on gloves, like, okay, well, one of them is bleeding. So then when you see like John Moxley is the first one that comes up, and then finally it was like, all right, there's their juice right there. All right, so you destroyed the set, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. And okay, finally somebody got some blood, and just the fact that he had to just pound into him, Moxley had to pound into him so much that They did by submission, but he didn't submit. It was the ref stopped the match because Brody was unresponsive, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was
Okay.
like technical submission.
So
Yeah.
Brody is still, I think still coming out as being strong here. Every faction or stable has to fall apart at some point. So I'm looking for some kind of story or something happening where either Brody Lee turns us back on the Dark Order, or Dark Order, maybe Evil Uno or 10 rises up and says, all right, we've been losing a lot on your watch. I'm taking over now, and maybe do a fight for supremacy of the Dark Order, and then
I
Brody
think
goes
Brody
off on his
Lee
end.
boots all these jabronis in the face tomorrow, Wednesday,
Yeah,
and we're done.
I think what would satisfy everybody involved is he just wrecks house. He decides that the Dark Order isn't good enough for him, and they're what's holding him back, and he wrecks shop.
Right.
I would not at all be surprised. It would fit with his character. It would fit with the evil heel who's pointing all of his problems at everybody else rather than his own performance. Like, I think they could be done with it here in a much more natural way than the way they killed the Nightmare Collective, and not many people would be upset.
Right.
Yeah, because they
working.
ended that. That was
Not
pretty
working.
abrupt with really no.
Oh yeah, they just killed it on
Yeah.
Dark. Like, this is done. We're over.
And where's Mel been? I haven't seen Mel since then.
Nowhere.
Really? You're asking
Kong-
about Mel?
No, yeah, no. Kong had to go shoot more glow, and that was it. Like that, they just killed the Angle dead. I don't know that they'll kill this Angle dead, but I have a feeling that they could if they wanted to, and it would get a lot of heat on Brody Lee for just being an utter monster, like preying upon his own people, as it were. Anytime somebody sees a tyrant wrecking their own people, it's a good way to make it clear that this person is still not a great guy.
Alright, so John Moxley retains. He gets his belt back. Hey! And he's off to face Brian Cage at Fighter Fest. No word yet on whether it's going to be free this year like they did last time. At least none that I've heard. Have you heard anything about that?
Nope, haven't heard anything about payment regarding that one at all.
Okay. Even if it was $50, I'd still
Well, after the match we're about to talk about, I think they could ask me for $50 and I wouldn't have a lot of reason to not give it to them.
The Stadium Stampede. Oh my God. This was
the only thing you
This was 45 minutes long. The first 10 minutes was sort of like a wrestling match where, some action was going on in the ring. They had a ring in the middle of the stadium. Then after about 10 or so minutes, they start branching off into they're pairing off with opponents and going off in the different directions. And then from that point, it just turns into it turns into a comedy match,
sort of like a wrestling match. I mean, so
let me actually before we even get into that, let me ask you guys a question. And I've been wondering this. So, did you guys see Money in the Bank this year?
Yes,
I did not.
Okay. So Money in the Bank was kind of like the same humor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're wrestling through the Titan Towers.
Yep.
And they have like these hijinks. So like, AJ and Brian are fighting and now Brother Love shows up. Or like they go into Vince's office or whatever it is. So like it was the same kind of thing. So it's like, fourth wall, wink, wink, cinematic, all that kind of stuff. Why was the Stampede so much better than Money in the Bank? I can't even think like what was there in the former and not in the Money Bank.
So I think for me, and again, I didn't see Money in the Bank. I saw a lot of the major clips of it, particularly the ones around Asuka, because that woman is gifable no matter what she does.
Yeah, she found her personality.
Yeah, her dancing in the elevator after she evades everybody and then jumping off of high spots and just all sorts of random stuff. Like, I think what it really is a lot of this was fan service like direct fan service. Like, yeah, we're gonna play our greatest hits, and it's gonna be like we're gonna reference everything that you've watched, regardless of where you watched it. We're gonna go back to the callback on the golf cart. Chris Jericho's gonna put a cone on his head and laugh. We're gonna make some American football jokes because we're fighting in a football field. Right. Everybody in the inner circle is going to wear uniforms with significant numbers based on who they are. Santana and Ortiz coming out with 5150 and referencing like old school TNA, and they're like, just everything was a reference to something, like following all of these characters' storylines. And I think that's the big difference, is these were characters in a fight. Like, there was nothing really on stake here. Like, they weren't going after a briefcase. Like, it wasn't all about the briefcase. It was all about these characters and how much they don't like each other. And so, and they gave everybody, like you said, they cut away. They started cutting away. So they started off with everybody in either end zone, and they quickly run to the center of the ring, and they're beating each other with football helmets and trying to have a wrestling match. Sammy Guevara does a shooting star press on his own team at one point for whatever reason. But like, as soon as they started cutting away from, no, this isn't really going to be a wrestling match, guys. This is going to be like an extended Being the Elite skit, a DDT pro.
This was so much better than BTE. This is so much better.
But it referenced so many things from BTE that it just, I don't know. Like, the second that Sammy peeled off from Hangman chasing him with the horse.
So that's where that was the
match went right angle.
That's when
the intro was great.
Yeah.
And then cowboy shit happened. Like, that's what like the gimmick is cowboy shit. So it's like, here comes some cowboy shit. At that point, I was like, okay, this is gonna be good.
Yeah. Like, he rides in on an actual horse and chases Sammy down. Because Sammy has to be running from something at every point in time he's on camera, or we wouldn't know he's Sammy, I guess. So they go from there into, like you said, they break up into like little groups doing things, and like the Young Bucks kind of square off with Jericho, and Kenny and Hardy are messing around with Santana and Ortiz and Jake Hager. Meanwhile, Hangman's walking through the arena on a horse looking for Sammy Guevara, and of course finds the bar.
And by this time, Sammy's already made his way back
out
into the field.
He's already back. And the announcers are pointing it out. They're like, what do they say? They say, if I'm lost, I wouldn't want the Hangman to be out to find me.
Yeah. Do not send him after me if I get lost.
Don't send him after me.
He's still looking. And then he finds the bar, and everything, he disappears for a while.
Right.
And then we get into like the next level stuff, which like, so Hangman chasing Sammy. Sammy comes back there to continue to wrestle. And then the next big spot was Matt Jackson with the moonsault off of the goalpost. Yes. Yeah. You have a perfectly good goalpost. Why would you not use it?
You got to use the moonsault off the goalpost. Like, that bet you, like, you look at the outline of what we're going to do, and like the bullet points. Bullet point number 1 is someone's got a moonsault off the goalpost.
Yeah. That's required by law.
Absolutely.
So he did that. Then, shortly after that, that's when Sammy parks his horse, goes into the bar. Then we go to Santana and Ortiz power slams Omega through a barricade that they crisscross over 2 tables.
Oh, that was nasty.
And they're standing. Both of them are standing up on the one table, and the table's being like held on by the refs.
The refs are holding the tables for them because they're big wobbly like bar tables.
Right.
No, that spot looked nasty. That like, ouch.
Kenny Meggs is tough, dude. Like that dude is legit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then now Kenny's out. And now it's basically Matt versus.
This is my favorite part. In the pool of
utterly ridiculous. And
oh man, I can't swim. There's 3 feet. Goddamn it, get your ass in here.
Yeah. Ortiz can't swim. And then they get in there, and they're literally drowning Matt Hardy on camera.
So this was pointed out. Was this in good taste after the whole Shad Gaspard thing?
I think I didn't have a problem with it because it was obviously goofy. Like, the whole time they're showing us the camera shots underwater and Matt's making faces and hand gestures and like, I think it was so silly that it managed to dodge that bullet for me. I can see how that could be a problem for people.
Right.
But it's also a callback to all of the, whether it's the elite, the final deletion or the.
I think, yeah. And like if you saw the final deletion and the ultimate deletion, then if you know the lore of the Lake of Reincarnation, then it wasn't as bad.
Yeah, but you're familiar with it.
And to me, it wasn't that bad. I just want to kind of mention it because I knew some people did have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he pops up as a Hardy Boy, and then he pops up as V2, and like he pops up with the Matt facts. And my favorite part about the Matt facts is Santana and Ortiz reading them off. Like they can see the graphic hanging in actual real world space.
Unbelievable.
That's so Deadpool. It's so fourth wall because obviously, like, they were just reading off of like somebody standing aside with cue cards on what they were going to put up the graphic to be. But the fact that they're referencing the graphic while they're doing it is just utterly ridiculous.
So they finally get out of the pool. Ortiz is on top of the table, and then Matt throws Santana onto him, breaks the table. And then he takes Ortiz over and rings his bell, so to speak. And he puts him in the chair of wheels.
The convenient wheelchair with duct tape that just happened to be
there. It is, and talking about, Dr. Hardy, and here, take one of these and call me in the morning, and punches him. And then he goes off to Santana, and similar to... I forget. It was one of the Dynamite ones where Matt was put in the cooler. I hope they got somebody remembered to go get Santana out of there after the show.
That was the joke after the pay-per-view. Is like for hours, people posting like pictures of Jack Nicholson from The Shining, and like I hope somebody remembered Santana. But like they put him in an ice chest, and like. Ortiz, the only thing I was waiting for that didn't happen was I was waiting for Hardy to like push the wheelchair down the stairs and then cut to an obvious mannequin in a wheelchair rolling down the stairs. Like it was that level of like B-movie production on the whole thing, and like knowingly so, like smile and a wink through the whole thing.
And this will help with your inflammation. With
the next part was actually my favorite, which was the bar.
Yeah,
fight.
so we find Hager finds his horse. It's like, all right, we know where to find him. He goes into the bar, and they just like sit down next to each other and share a drink.
It's like, do you want to talk? Do you want to drink? Do you want to fight? And they did both.
It's like, what? Doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference.
Like recreating Western fight scenes.
Yes.
Like you said, it's cowboy shit the whole way through. Hangman doesn't do anything in this match that isn't cowboy shit.
And he was like really agile. Like he was doing moonsaults off the pool table. He was like, kind of ducking and then Hager puts him on the bar and like, sweeps him off the bar and like all the glasses. Like he was perfect. Like, it was unbelievably perfect. And then they smash. Like Kenny Omega shows up, they smash the beer bottles off of the Hager's face, makes him look like a total badass. But like because this is AEW, they have to put him down eventually, and it's like because it's AEW. Like they can't let their monsters be monsters.
But we have the end of the spot. So like after pool cues and like bottles of the bubbly, it was actually like the same kind of sugar glass bottles that Mox broke over Jericho's head in that spot. But like they're bottles of bubbly that they break over his head, and they end up taking him out. And then, like, in the reuniting of Kenny and Hangman, and what I hope will lead to them entering into a tag team program to finally get the belts off of them. They both
I think that'll come soon. That'll come soon.
They both sit down, and Hangman's like the usual, and then they pour each other a drink, and of course Kenny's is milk. Right. And they like cheers the glasses gulp them down and then head out to join the rest of the match.
The pool scene was great. The bar scene was great, and then it kept on going.
Yep.
So like they go to the
Yep.
football field, and it's Jericho now. Jericho, I think,
Yeah.
and the Hardys, and the not the Hardys, the
Bucks.
The Bucks.
Mhm. Who knew Nick had an arm on him?
Oh yeah, like throwing all the
He's
footballs.
just flinging those footballs at Jericho like full force. I'm like, holy crap, man!
And Jericho like stealing the show, like
Oh,
gives
yeah.
the Judas effect to the mascot.
Yeah.
Yes, Judas
Throws a
effect-
challenge flag on a false finish,
Yeah,
and it's
Yes,
completely
like,
hamming it up. I really think like
That-
him, and he's really enjoying Aubrey Edwards, like going back and forth with her. He does something every time.
Yeah.
Like every match that he has, it's something at Aubrey Edwards, and she's really good playing her like, okay, I'm not taking your shit role.
Yeah.
It's become really, really fun to watch.
Oh yeah, he did his Wicked Witch of the West coming on his head laugh, and like you said, Judas affects the mascot, and like the whole flag on the play thing. Like he calls for a replay flag.
Yeah, I challenge the play.
They walk to the medical tent and they're reviewing the footage, and they come out and he's like, the play stands, and he's like, you're a shitty ref, which like I popped so hard for how mad and like petulant child he was in that moment. Like I don't know what it is about Chris Jericho where he can play that like shit weasel heel, and I can still love him for it.
Yep.
Like I don't know what is unique about him, but like the whole section here, and like
and while they're doing all that, what is it? Matt is doing the what do you call it? The where he's flipping
the Northern Lights.
Northern Lights to Sammy from from one end of the field to the other, and they finally get to the other field, and he pounds Sammy's head, starts doing an Alex Wright dance from WCW. He gets the yellow flag, and then he kicks.
Right.
He
super kicks the ref.
Oh my gosh, no. The fact that all of the action with Jericho and Nick is intercut with.
Yeah.
Like they start with Matt in one end zone with the Northern Light suplexes, and they periodically cutting back as he passes various points.
Yeah, like the 50-yard line, and then they go back to Chris and
oh my gosh. No, as soon as they did the first one, like as soon as they started in the end zone, I went, oh no.
They're going the whole way.
I know what they're going to do. Right. And it didn't matter that I knew that they were going to do it. Oh.
And then they get Chris on a table. Nick Jackson runs down the stairs, jumps off the seat area, and then when Chris is laying prone, Hangman Page comes out with the goddamn line thing, goes right over Jericho, up his crotch, over his face. And
I thought he was going to draw a chalk outline, and it was so much better to have him just drive over Jericho like Jericho wasn't there.
What I liked is the commentary, just some of the one-liners from the commentary.
I think Jim Ross was great.
They were having fun too.
I think Tony. Tony felt like he's like, what's happening? What's going on here? He was just playing kind of like that dumb, like I don't know what's going on. But Jim Ross was totally on.
Oh yeah, he was doing music references and lyrics and.
Because what happened was, so all this is happening, and then they cut to Sammy, and the sprinklers wake Sammy up, and Jim Ross is like, look at this poor bastard.
Sammy
thinks he's won. He's the last person standing.
Look at this poor bastard, and then the golf cart comes out, which is glorious. I don't even think they meant like when they first did the golf cart thing, but that GIF that came out of him running from the golf cart was so popular that it's like, we got to do this. We just got to keep on doing it.
Hardy's sitting there like looking crazy with his hair blowing in the wind, and Kenny's leaning out one side with his finger pointing. It was like a scene out of a goofy ass 80s cartoon. Like it could have been from Rock and Wrestling. Like they could have just cut it right out, or Scooby Doo. Like they could have just cut it right out of a cartoon. It's so ridiculous. And Sammy, I don't know what he actually runs, like, but that golf cart was booking this time. Like, they let him get it over half the field away before starting, but, like, I don't know how he made it over that wall before they got there.
Oh,
And
wow.
now it's Sammy versus basically all of the elite.
Yeah, so they chase him up the seats. They get up on that, like, I guess it's the area where, like, the players come out up the
Yep.
ramp when they enter into
Right above the tunnel, yeah.
and they're doing Sammy's doing, like, pounding away on Matt, and all of a sudden the
Like-
natural electronic organism.
Yes, the new sidekick, because Vanguard is no more.
Right.
And this distracts Sammy long enough that Kenny gets to him.
Yep.
Oh my God, does Kenny get to him?
And that was a really good spot.
And
Like
that
it was the perfect ending.
Like,
Yeah.
It was the
Did
perfect ending.
you guys ever think a 2-story one-winged angel would finish a match and not result in someone's death? Like,
Well, I mean, we've seen guys jump off the cell. I don't think it was a longer jump than jumping off the cell.
No, but it was like 15, 20 feet, and there was obviously a crash pad.
Right.
Like,
Yes,
it was
huge crash.
painfully obvious. Like, it was probably safer than jumping off the cell in pretty much
That
every
was
way
that was as safe a bump as possible, but still, it was amazing visual.
amazing visual, like falling 15 feet, doing the one, like, he starts it before, like, as he's moving Sammy, he gets Sammy into position in mid-air and then lands. And like the BTE that aired this week, like, they showed some of the behind the scenes footage and some of the other angles on it, and it is unbelievable. Like, stuntmen get paid big money to do this stuff for Hollywood, and they did it to end this match. And, like, I did not predict 2-story one-winged angel as the way Sammy would die. I thought it would involve Vanguard's replacement in some way. So at least that did kind of come into play. But, like, I was expecting it to, like, disintegrate him with lasers or something utterly ridiculous by the end of it. I was like, there's nothing they can't do at this point, because it's so over the top.
And it felt short, like, you know, to the point of, like, most of the matches were too long. This one, I could have watched another 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it was 34 minutes from bell to bell, with like 15 minutes of prep time with them on the field with the Jaguar cheerleaders and the introduction.
I could have watched a bunch of that. And one, like, okay, I think I don't know if I enjoyed this one more or the Boneyard match.
Mhm.
I think they were both really good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This one was ahead of Money in the Bank, and it was ahead of the Firefly Funhouse. But I'm glad that they're actually trying all this stuff for the empty arena. So, like, you know, it's that you take shit and you try to make shit aid. This is a perfect example of that. Like, this was not on the cards, and it's like, you know what? You know, we're gonna do the best we can, and I loved it.
Yeah, they were supposed to have Blood and Guts as already the blow-off match. This was already supposed to be over.
They'll do it. They'll get to Blood and Guts.
I'm sure they'll do Blood and Guts. I'm just saying, like, that was supposed to be the end of this whole Inner Circle Elite thing, and then they were all going to move on, and then they couldn't do it. And so this is their, I guess, replacement in a lot of ways for it. And I think, like, ultimately, while I was excited about the return of War Games, and I think that would have been a fine match, if we had missed out on this for that, I would have been sad. Like, if I could look into the alternate reality where this match didn't happen, I would have been sad. This was, like, it was great. And it was, again, one of those moments where they rewarded their fans for paying attention to whatever they pay attention to. Easter eggs scattered throughout the whole thing, references to various prior storylines and character interactions, and, like, I don't know. I really loved this match, and it was definitely, like, the most fun I've had watching a pay-per-view in a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
I tweeted at shortly after, it's like, this is what happens when a company lets their talent be creative and just have fun.
Yeah, fun, I think. Yeah, most of the event was fun, and, like, the last match, you could tell they were loving it. Jericho loved every second of all of that. Hardy, like, all of them got to do their ridiculous shit and feed all of that in.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know. Calling this a match still is hilarious to me. And, like, they've talked now, it went over so well, they've talked about making this, like, an official thing that could happen from time to time. Not like this is going to be a pay-per-view that we have every year, but, like, every now and then maybe we'll whip out a Stadium Stampede match.
Well, they're still going to, they're probably going to do another Hardy Compound match.
Yes.
So,
I would
that,
hope that we see an Elite deletion. I think
we're probably going to see an Elite deletion, yeah.
I'm hoping it's Jericho Hardy, and they just go balls to
just
the
those
wall.
two, yeah.
Yeah, just those two, and they just go balls to the wall. I want to see Jericho interact with Senor Benjamin and
all that, yeah.
the boat and all of the other nonsense on the Hardy compound. I think it'll be hilarious.
Well, so the next pay-per-view is All Out on September 5th. So I guess I will see you guys shortly after then, huh?
Yeah, sure.
And
Sounds
depending on when Fighter Fest is, maybe then too. We'll find out more details on that.
We'll see.
Probably this week.
I mean, the pay-per-view overall, I'd give it like an A minus.
Right.
What do you guys think?
Sure, A minus sounds good.
A minus, B plus. Yep.
There was some shit early in the pay-per-view, but like the Stadium Stampede match was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. All right. Well, Tony, Jason, thanks again, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.
See you later, guys. Take care.
See y'all.
Alrighty then. Well, thank you so much for listening to our review of Double or Nothing from AEW. I hope you guys really enjoyed this stuff. We enjoyed doing it, and that's why we're going to continue going that. But next episode, we'll get back to my Fireside Chat, Shoot the Shit series. But thank you so much for listening. And if you want to find out more about the Mega Meeple, just go to the website, www.themegameeple.com. All the social media links are there. You go to their YouTube channel and subscribe there. And if you want to listen to the podcast and subscribe on iTunes, give me a thumbs up and a happy review there. That really help out. If you want to help support what I do, fork over about $1 a month or so, whatever. There's a link to the Patreon. Otherwise, you can follow me and interact with me on all the other links there, the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, what have you. But yeah, thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Hey, all right. Hey, gang's all here. Yay.
What's going on, guys? What is going on with your background, Tom?
I got my AEW background on.
You gotta be kidding me.
Got my shirt.
Oh, well.
I couldn't get the hat. I'll have to get that next month.
You're a fanboy. We cannot count on you for any objective opinions. There'll be no objectivity in this podcast.
I was gonna say I'm probably a fanboy too, so I think we're in trouble.
Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to bring the pain. That's okay. I got some pain to bring.
Well, there's some things that I can comment on negatively on this one, but overall I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, overall it was really fun, but I do have some quibbles. Although last time we kind of took it over from Tom, so maybe Tom wants to.
Yeah, I don't want to.